So this is my version 14 BMS. It's a 100 amp BMS with a 1 amp active balancer. And I'm running version 14.24 beta 3. So this is one of our test versions still, but now we have the brand new version, the full spec version, which is also called version 14.24, not 25. Okay, let's see if I can upgrade. 14.24, and we take the 100 amp version of the BMS file, open, start updating. Oh yeah, it does it. I thought I may need the forced update code for it because I'm already running 14.24, but no, it actually recognizes it is a beta software and now it's the full version coming right now. Successful. But first of all, welcome back to the Off-Grid Garage here in wonderful, sunny, beautiful Australia. Look at this. Oh, you put your comments down under the video. How many amps outside do we have? Well, it is another hot, sweaty day here in the garage. I hope the fan is not too loud here in the camera. But I need to keep it on here to keep me a bit cooler. Once the aircon is installed and running here, we will be making videos in my new studio. I promise. After weeks of discussion and testing, we have the new firmware version for the JK-BMS for both the version 14 and version 15 of their BMS, two different hardware versions, but they now have exactly the same features and functions. And with this new version, there is a lot to talk about because there are some significant changes to how we set 100% state of charge in the BMS and also when we enter float mode now. The whole charging logic and algorithm has a bit changed, and for the last couple of days I have tested this extensively here with my version 14 BMSs and also the version 15 BMSs in the JIKONG. And I must say, the software for the JK-BMS was never that good. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, version 14.24 release log. Update all features to remain consistent with version 15.35. So the version 14 of the BMS and the version 15 of the BMS have now the exact same functionality and features and bugs maybe, I don't know. And I really hope JIKONG can maintain this when they bring out new firmware versions that do it for both the version 14 and version 15 of their BMS. Okay, let's have a look in the version 15.35. Optimized ampere hour integration algorithm to improve state of charge accuracy. That is very good, right? I'm not sure what I have optimized, but we will see if it is now more accurate in calculating the state of charge. Optimize state of charge reset logic to 100%. This is what I was talking about. I'll explain this in a second how this works. And we also have an added logic to enter float mode. And number 4, which will come in a future update with a new JK app for your mobile phone. Yeah, so the app will show you what status the BMS is actually in. Additionally, it will also show you the RCV timer, how it runs down, as well as the RFV timer, so the float timer. But this requires a new mobile app which will come out soon. Yeah, JIKONG is still working on this new app. Once this is there, it will automatically work. These changes are already implemented in the new firmware, but we need to wait for the new app for these functionality for number 4. Everything else is already working. So, and if you haven't seen it here in version 15.33, they also fixed the Victron bug with the energy consumption. So this is basically exactly this bug what we can see here, that the consumption is always as large as the production. Yeah, both bars, the red one and the yellow one, are the same height all the time. Fix the bug of entering float charge. Okay, this is now obsolete because we've got the new logic now running. Optimize the logic for state of charge reset to solve the bug that some inverters use state of charge to control charging. Yeah, so this is basically now obsolete as well. Fix the bug where dry 2, this is the contactor, the relay inside the BMS, failed. It did not close the contact for whatever reason. This was obviously a software bug and is now fixed. We will test this in a second. And I'm not sure what this one is here. Add 1 key to set lithium ion, lithium iron phosphate, LTO log recording. Don't know. There you can see it better with a bit of light. Version 14 batteries and BMSs, and these are version 15. And both are working the same way now, which is pretty good. So let's take the CAN communication to the Servo JX out of the Young battery and put this here in the JK battery. The CAN, I've got the RS485 as well. So I'm currently running only one battery here. We will later parallel two of the batteries and have them communicating to each other. But here for the very first test, let's start with one battery. Okay, here's our JK-BMS showing up in the remote console. Set of health, battery temperature, details. Yeah, it still shows the same nice details. Battery number 0, which is this battery, is the only one connected. You can see the lowest, the highest cell, minimum temperature, maximum temperature, how many battery modules are connected, how many are blocking charge and discharge, and the installed and available capacity. It's a 100 ampere hour battery. So this is all working fine, perfect. Alarms, there's nothing in alarms. Everything is okay. We will change this soon, right? History shows us the discharge and charge energy for these connected batteries. Both is on 0 because we just connected it right now. The usual stuff under device, it is connected, yes, it is connected via CAN bus. The name you can change in the Victron system, and we are running firmware version 14.24. And here probably the most important setting are the parameters. This is what the BMS or the battery reports to your inverter and requests. Yeah, there's the CVL, the charge voltage limit, or RCV, which is called inside the BMS. It's the requested charge voltage. So the BMS is sitting on 3.45, and then times 16 makes exactly 55.2. The charge current limit sits in the BMS on 50 amps, and the software always takes 5% away. And the same for the discharge current, sits on 100 amps in the BMS, minus 5% makes 95%. Nothing has changed here, this is all working fine. So far the whole reporting from the BMS to the Victron system. So we go to the RS485 here and here. They are not electrically connected at the moment, but that's fine. We just want to have the two BMS communicating. The master BMS should be on 0 now, and the slave BMS should be on 1 now. So let's have a look under details again. We should see the changes here. Yeah, we've got now 2 batteries online. None of them is blocking the charge. The overall capacity of both batteries is 235, of which we have 211 ampere hours available. And up here we can again see battery number 0 and battery number 1. So the lowest cell is actually in our master battery, while the highest cell is in our slave battery. And the same for the min and max temperature. Nice. And if we go back into parameters, we will still see the 55.2 volts. But now we can see the charge current limit has actually increased because it takes into account both batteries. Whatever you set in the BMS will be added, and the master reports this as a sum to your inverter. Yeah, so obviously each of the BMSs sits on 50 amps, makes 100 all in total, and then minus the 5% again. And discharge sits on 100 amps per BMS, times 2 makes 200, minus 5%, 190. Nice. Okay, screen recorder is running. This is our master BMS now. Yeah, you can see here that the continuous charge current sits on 50 amps. We set this one here. We set this one now down to 1 amp, yeah? 1 amp for 3 seconds, and then it would trigger an overcurrent alarm. This is just a master battery. The slave battery is still able to take power, so we should only see the master BMS turning off. We now have to turn on the circuit breaker, turn this one off for the time, and we should probably see some current flowing now into this BMS. Let's have a look. Charge overcurrent, it has already triggered that, and we can see the alarm popping up here in the Victron system. There's the triangle at the top. We are still having 2 batteries online, but one of them is blocking charge. We have a high charge current warning. Yeah, it is just a warning. And you can also see here on the mobile phone, it sends me actually a notification that the SPAT calibration center has a problem. There's a high charge current alarm. It is a warning only. So if you have a look at the parameters again, we are still charging to 55.2 volts, but one of the batteries has now blocked charging, so we can still charge with 47.5 amps for the slave battery. And this is exactly what your inverter would do, yeah? It would not charge with 100 amps anymore, it would only charge with 50 amps because your slave is still able to take the power. And now we get the alarm on the Servo GX. Just confirm this quickly here. So I want to measure the continuity. Obviously we've got a beep here when I connect these two. So try contact 2 is on the left, try contact 1 is on the right. And obviously because we haven't programmed anything, there's no beep here, there's no beep there. Yeah. So at the moment both dry contacts are open. So down here we've got the 3 parameters we can set for the dry contact number 2. So let's see what we can do. Let's do a battery over voltage. Yeah, this is probably the easiest at the moment. Let's activate that and say if we are over 3250, you have to enter this in millivolt, and the release is at 3200, for example. Yeah, so the trigger is at 3.25 and the release is at 3.20. Saying okay, okay. So this does not trigger any alarms or something, but it triggers the relay contact. So if I measure again number 2 now, yeah, you can hear it. It has now closed the contact and we have continuity here. So relay number 2 is working perfectly fine. And as you know, you can select different triggers here for these relay contacts. Low state of charge, battery over voltage, under voltage, cell over voltage, charge over current, discharge over current, battery temperatures, and so on and so on. Low state of charge, for example, can activate a charger or start your generator, then recharge the battery, and once the battery is back to 15 or 20%, it disconnects the charger again. So it's a very versatile and nice to program feature now the JK-BMS has. It has this for a while actually, but obviously there was something wrong with dry contact number 2, but this is now all fixed with the version 14.24 of this BMS. That is perfect. Alright, so let's test the main feature, the new float and reset to 100% state of charge functionality and logic in these two BMSs now, version 14 and version 15. So now we have this 7-step logic in our JK-BMS. You can't see step number 4 at the moment here because this is the brand new one which makes all the difference, I think. So what we have right now is the BMS obviously measures the battery voltage here. If your battery voltage is lower than your set RCV voltage, like 55.2 volts, it keeps charging. This is our normal bulk charging. We keep charging, charging, charging until the battery voltage rises. It is equal or larger than your set RCV voltage. Yeah, 55.2 volts, for example. What happens? We are starting the RCV timer, probably for 1 hour. And then after 1 hour, the RCV timer ends. We are setting the state of charge of the battery to 100%. And we also start the RFV timer. And we reduce the voltage to 53.6 volts. And the timer runs them for like 8 hours. This is what we have right now, and this is not optimal because within this hour we could considerably discharge the battery and we would still reset the BMS to 100% state of charge afterwards. Even the battery is down to 80 or 90% state of charge. So not correct. So the new logic now introduces the point 4. And at the end of absorption time, we are checking again if our battery voltage is actually larger than the set state of charge 100% voltage. Yeah, this is a parameter you can set in the app as well. So as you have just seen, my one sits on 55.12 volts. So at the end of absorption, if my battery voltage is still higher than 55.12 volts, the battery is full, the battery is absorbed, the battery is balanced. 3 indicators for 100% state of charge. And this is also the only time we should actually enter float mode. If we discharge the battery during absorption time in this hour, yeah, considerably down to 80%, the voltage will not be at 55.12 volts anymore. we will be at 52.8 or 53 volts or something. So what happens then? Well, we say no, our battery voltage is not higher or equal our set 100% reset voltage, and we start another bulk cycle. So we basically keep charging the battery again all the way up to 55.2 volts, and then run the timer again, absorb, balance, and afterwards we check again. Is our battery at 55.1 volts? Yes, it is. So it is 100% charged then. And we can also reduce the voltage now to 53.6 for the next 8 hours. So this also means for these people out there who have these inverters which are checking for the state of charge of your BMS, the BMS will not show 100% state of charge at the end of the absorption timer. It needs also the correct voltage of your battery. So with this new logic, there could be one small problem still. In this hour of absorption time, if you discharge your battery for half an hour, say, and then recharge the battery again to 55.2 volts, it may not have absorbed for 1 hour, and it may not have balanced enough to actually be on 100% state of charge. So there could be still a false reporting for 100% state of charge, but this is only if you discharge your battery and then recharge to the end of the absorption timer and are again back on 55.2 or 55.1 volts here in this case. But as you can see, we have to make up this case, right? There will be always edge cases, certain scenarios which we don't catch with this new logic and algorithm now in the BMS. There will be always someone complaining that this specific inverter is not working with this algorithm because of some other settings. You know, people told me the D inverters and the Sunkin inverters, they actually don't take the voltage from the BMS when you charge. They still measure their own battery voltage. And if JIKONG could not put in a 0.5 volt offset, which can be turned off and turned on for exactly these inverters. I mean, if you plug in an inverter to a BMS, you would expect the inverter is actually taking all the data, especially the voltage, from this BMS. I mean, why else would you plug in the BMS to an inverter, right? This is more a problem of the inverter firmware, not so much of JK. And honestly, this is the same with the Victron Smart Shunt. It has this, when it resets to 100%, the voltage needs to be there, the current needs to be under a certain threshold, and the timer also needs to run for the set time you put in. And even this seems to be like a good and logic algorithm to reset to 100% state of charge. There are many cases where this is still not true. So depending on your weather situation, for example, if you have a mix of clouds and sun coming and going, you may end up with a false 100% state of charge as well. And it is the same here with this logic, but we will never ever catch all these edge cases where people say, yeah, but if this and this and this and this happens, it is not 100%. There will be always cases where this 100% state of charge is not correct. Well, in this case, the battery would actually reset to 100% state of charge, goes into float mode, even the battery had not enough time to fully absorb and top balance. But then, you know, it will do it the next day and then probably absorb and top balance. But I think checking the battery voltage after the absorption timer again for what you have set as your state of charge 100% reset voltage makes a lot of sense, and then make the decision if we need to keep absorbing or we have met the requirements you have set in the app, and we can actually say, okay, this is my 100% state of charge, and we can then also reduce the voltage to 53.6 volts for the next 8 hours and enter float mode. Okay, let's check out the settings of the BMS here again. So voltage cell RCV, this is the requested charge voltage, 3.45 volts times 16, 55.2. This is how much we are charging. And the state of charge, 100% voltage, I have set to 3.445 because it needs to be lower than the 3.45. So actually these 4 parameters here, they need to be in a certain order. So 55.2 volts is how far I charge. And then 55.12 volts is when I reset to 100%, but only after the absorption time, right? Battery is fully absorbed, fully top balanced, battery is 100% full. And then I say, if the voltage is still higher than these 55.12 volts. Yep, this is 100% for me, and I also want to reduce the voltage now to float voltage. Okay, let's go in here and change the charge current back to 50 amps so we can actually charge this battery. I leave the timer sitting on 0.1 hour for testing purposes here. Alright, and for demonstration purposes I've also disconnected the second battery now. And what I will do in the BMS here, I'll go to my battery capacity in ampere hours, 100 ampere hours. If I click OK, it actually determines the cell with the highest voltage and calculates an estimate of state of charge. If I click on this one and go back into my status, see, it shows me now a remaining capacity of 72.6 ampere hours or percent, 73% down here. So let me turn on the charge MOSFET again, and we recharge this battery from solar. Let's give it a few minutes to fully charge this battery again to 55.2 volts. Okay, we are now at 54.8 volts here as per BMS, and we are still requesting 55.2 volts. And as per our settings, at 55.12 volts, we are resetting to 100% state of charge. But we don't, because we have not absorbed yet. And we can see we are at 74% state of charge here in the BMS. We are charging. Why is there a cloud coming? Really? Really? There's blue sky and there's again one cloud. Come on. 1.7 amps. The voltage in the battery is even dropping now. Ah. Yeah, there's no sun. There's no freaking sun. There's a freaking cloud in front of the sun now. How am I supposed to test everything here without sun? Start the recording. Okay, 55 volts. And you will see at 55.12 volts, nothing will happen. There we go, 55.12, still 74% state of charge. Because the battery is not at 100%. Even I'm saying at this voltage, it is 100%, but only after the absorption time, not yet. So now we have reached 55.2 volts. And we probably have started the absorption timer, the RCV timer now. But we cannot see this in this version of the app yet. With the new version, we can see the timer actually running down from 0.1 hour. So current goes to 0. We have fully absorbed the battery now because there's no load connected. Charge current goes to 0 now. And now it is 27 plus 6 minutes, 33. And then we should enter float mode. But only if the voltage is over my set 100% reset voltage. So let's give it 6 minutes and then I'll be back. Okay, we are now at 15:33, so we should enter float mode any point of time, but we won't, because look at the voltage. We are at 54.56 volts only, yeah? I've discharged the battery a tiny bit and also turned off the solar. So the voltage is coming down and it is now under the state of charge 100% voltage I have set here in the app. And as you can see, we are not resetting to 100% because the battery is discharged, and we also not going into float mode. We are still requesting 55.2 volts from the inverter. So we're actually starting another cycle. We're asking solar, please recharge me to 55.2 volts again and hold this for my set absorption time. Okay, this time we leave it running for 6 minutes and then see if we enter. No, we won't, because there's another freaking cloud coming. I can't believe it. I missed it. I missed it by a split second. I could just see it turning over to 100% and 53.6 volts. So after exactly 6 minutes, as I've said it here, BMS reset to 100% state of charge and also went into float mode. Because now the battery is really 100% charged, it has absorbed, it has top balance, and the voltage is still at 55.12 volts. So we have not discharged the battery after hitting the absorption voltage. Okay, so now after 6 minutes, we should see the battery going back to 55.2. See, this will be much easier in the next version of the app when we can actually see the timers running down. So we will know the exact moment when the BMS turns from float back to bulk. But here we don't know that. Could be any second now. There we go, 55.2 volts. It just ran out, and now the solar charge controller kicks back in and recharges the battery to 55.2. So we are now at the JIKONG battery here with the version 15 of the JK inverter BMS, and we want to see if we have any continuity on the dry contact 2. That is all working. Test this one. There's nothing here, and there's nothing on dry contact 1 either. Alright, and here as well in the app I have programmed the dry 2 trigger with a battery over voltage, and I've set this one to 3.4 volts. We are far over that, so if I click here on OK, I think I could actually hear the click, but I'm not sure. Oh, don't. Fucking hell. Alright my friends, I think so far this video from today testing the new JK inverter BMS firmware 14 point something, I don't know, I can't remember all these numbers. There could be a potential small problem with the dry contacts and the programming of them. From what I have just found here by testing this on the version 15 and 14 respectively, it seems like the dry contacts are only working once, and then when I try the second time the contact doesn't close anymore. I cannot really find a consistency with this fault or error or bug, because when I just showed you here in the video it was working fine, right? And then I tried again on the version 14 BMS and it didn't work anymore. The contact didn't close. So I'm not sure what's going on. I have to do more testing with that. But this is just for the dry contacts. Everything else seems to work fine. I'm not sure how many people actually use these dry contacts for further automation or so. I've reported this bug to JIKONG already and they are on the ball. They are currently testing in China. So hopefully they can find something and can send me a new firmware which I can test and confirm working. I guess there's always something, right? There's always something. You test the dry contacts, they work. You test it a second time and they stop working. Looks like there's somewhere a bug in the software which prevents it from working the second time again. So please read the description under the video here. I'll put all the news, all the updates into the description. So they may release a new version actually than I was talking about in this video here. Anyway, all the information are down under the video. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support here on the channel. Welcome to all the new subscribers and channel members here. All your support is very much appreciated. I will go and calibrate a SBAT now. Make sure all the solar panels are correctly calibrated. Needs to be ice cold for that, otherwise it doesn't calibrate correctly and you need to do it again. When I release this video, I'll be on holiday already down the coast. Yeah, Mrs. Andy and I will sneak out for a week. Kids are coming over looking after the property here. So the next video is maybe a little bit delayed. I haven't prepared anything. I'm a lazy bastard, right? But yeah, please test this software. Leave all your comments, all your questions down below. I will be looking into my comments during this holiday and reply to as many as I can. So thank you as well for all your hundreds of comments under these videos. Much appreciated. Okay, my friends, you have a wonderful week and we see us after my short holiday again. Until then, guys, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye-bye. Yeah, there's always something. It seems like there's always something broken. Jeez. It's me again. Quick update. It seems to be hardware related. So all the BMSs I got from the official JK-BMS store on AliExpress. Version 14, version 14, version 14 in there. Don't work. All the BMSs delivered by JIKONG in their do-it-yourself cases, version 15, don't work. So, quick update here, I'm still in contact with JIKONG. They have tested over there in China and it works for them. I have tested again, doesn't work for me. These two are the only ones which are working. Let me quickly show you. Alright, we got our beeper here, which doesn't beep because it's turned off. Yeah, beeps. No problem. So, try contact 1. No beep. I'm going in the BMS, going into settings. This is dry contact number 1. See, it sits on 0. I have put in 3.2 volts to turn on and 3.1 to turn off. So if we go to battery cell over voltage number 4, yeah, all the cells are over 3.2 volts obviously, and click on OK for dry 1 trigger. There, beeps. I'll go back in and turn this off. No trigger. Beeper turned off. Yeah, relay works perfectly fine. I can do the same with battery over voltage number 2 here. Click on OK. Bang, works. See here, all the cells are over 3.2 volts, and this is our trigger for this function. Go on 0, bang, turns off. Same with number 2. I changed the 2 contacts here to dry contact number 2. It already beeps because we have set number 2, battery over voltage. I go on 0, press OK, turns off. I go on cell over voltage protection, or alarm, it's not a protection, it's alarm. There, 3.2 volts, same, and 0, turns it off. So these relays on the BMS work perfectly fine. This one here works as well. None of the other BMSs work for me. I don't know. And I had the suspicion there's something different with the board, maybe with the communication board, right? And this is the version 1.01 here of the communication board. They can see it, bottom left hand corner. But honestly, there is nothing on this board. There are no active components, no ICs, no chips, nothing. There's nothing. There are just connectors on this side and ports on this side. This is all this one does. And the LEDs, of course, and dip switches. But everything else, there's no active component. Yeah. So even this is a version whatever, I mean, there's nothing on it. So can't be this one either. Back to JIKONG for testing. All these BMSs, the 2 from Global Power, the 2 from JIKONG, are version 15A. In fact, these 2 BMSs are only 46 serial numbers apart from each other, and this one doesn't work, this one works. Same software version for all the batteries. These 2 work, none of the others work. Something wrong with the cables maybe or so? I have no idea. So let me know in the comments down below, once you have upgraded your JK-BMS to the newest version, which I linked down below of course, are your dry contacts still working? Please also state what kind of BMS you have, version 14 or version 15, and which hardware version it has. Thank you very much. Maybe we can help JIKONG out here and see what we can find. I have no idea. I don't know. Just had a look at the cabling. Well, this is the cable. Unless it's not plugged in correctly. The most weird thing is it has worked once, right? It has worked. You have seen the video. I have tested it. It started beeping. I turned it off. It stopped beeping. If I turn it back on, it doesn't start beeping anymore. It works only once. So there is something magic going on. Evil. All right, I'll keep you posted as soon as I get some news.